So the other feature we have is a very soft, very forgiving casting mat. And that fits very nicely into the casting base, like so. Now, to cast, firstly you need the sliding clamps positioned centrally so that they're between the purple side cheeks. You then push out the open pressure frames as far as possible, and it's at this point that with your gel cassettes you in turn insert each one down either side of the flat blue gasket. So that sits upright, this likewise on the other side sits upright. Now at this point you can then, just using your fingers, just slide the clamps into position like so. And then on the other side do the same. So by sliding the clamps into the purple side cheeks, you then fix the open pressure reading frames upright, and then you clamp the glass plates vertically into position. Now the next thing you should do is just run your finger along the bottom of the glass plates to check that they're nice and smooth. If the spacers are protruding in any way or the plates are slightly misaligned, it's better that you release the sliding clamps using your thumb or the key and start again. But if it's done properly, it should feel nice and smooth. Have a go, Tambi? There you go. Now the next step then is particularly important. It's the orientation of the cam pins. You don't have them that way, you have them, or any other way for that matter, other than to have the cam pins positioned downwards into the bench surface. Now there's good reason for this, because what you'll see with the cams, if you look closely, you've got this narrow cylindrical bore, and then if you push them inwards you've got a much larger one. When you drag the casting base, or sorry, the casting module onto the casting mat, you turn these cams through about 120 to 180 degrees, and the idea is, as the narrow cylindrical bore rotates round by about 120 180 degrees, you then pull the casting module tightly onto the casting mat. So by the time it comes round completely, you have a nice tight leak-free seal, which will ensure leak-free casting when you pour the acrylamide gel. The other thing I would like to point out at this stage as well is that all the spacers actually have a notch at the top. This is really just to show as to which side you should push down the spacers, i.e. which side the spacers have actually been ground down so that they're flush with the glass plates. So the ones with the arrows or V's notched, etched into them, are the ones that should always face uppermost. If it's the other way around, you will get leakage. So the next step, as I said, the cam pins facing downwards straight into the work surface. You then get your casting module containing your glass plates, of course, and if you only want to run one set of glass plates, you use the dummy plate, which is included with the unit, and you then insert it so it sits nicely onto the mat. It's at this point that you simultaneously push in the cam pins like so, and you can then simultaneously turn the cams for about 90 degrees until you experience an increase in resistance to the glass plates as they're dragged onto the casting mat. So as you can see, the cam pins have been turned in alternate directions, one clockwise, one counterclockwise, through about an angle of 90 degrees. And that is usually just about right to secure the casting module onto the casting mat. You'll also see that the casting mat, although it's probably quite difficult for you from here, is to see that the casting mat starts to pinch the bottom of the glass plate a little bit. It's then at this point that you then would normally pour in the acrylamide to cast the gel. Because acrylamide is not a particularly pleasant substance, and also for reasons of time, I'm just going to use water. However, one thing I would like to point out in any casting demonstration is that it's always worth checking out with a small volume of water that you do actually have sealing, no leaking, and before you then go ahead and prepare your acrylamide gel and pour that. So again, it's pretty straightforward. Draw up some sample, and again, a sort of 5mm pipette is enough for this size format. And what we should see is we get nice leak-free casting. And you just position the pipette tip just in the corner of the glass plate, like so. And you would do exactly the same on the other side. Just spilt some into the central chamber, which happens. And it's at that point that you can then insert the comb, like so, and like so on the other side. And normally then you'd wait for the acrylamide to set, and once the acrylamide is set, you could then just remove the comb and it would be ready for loading. You can transfer the module to the tank, fill the outermost part of the tank already, insert the module in so the bottom of the gels are covered, then fill the core module up with your buffer, and then load your samples. Normally when you're loading samples, you load the ones which are furthest most away from you so you can see quite nicely. Alternatively, if you do have any problems with loading, you can take advantage of the light loading guides. So as you can see, if I remove that one, you get a nice semicircular notch formed with the which enables you to position your pipette tip. Obviously you'd use a much smaller pipette like that than this to load your samples, but this is just to give you an idea as to why these semicircles are here. And in a nutshell, that is casting.